So yes, so AgriFrontier is a consulting firm. We specialize in agribusiness consulting. We were established in July 2020, and we have over 10 years of experience in providing management and business consulting in agribusiness in Africa. So over the years, we have implemented a number of projects that are in Africa, but we have offices in the UK, we have offices in the West Africa, and we also have offices in the Eastern Africa. So in the UK, in Ghana, we have done and supported a company that wanted to do rice contract farming. So they were seeking expansion farming. In Zambia, we helped with investment due diligence. A company wanted to invest in a Zambian company. And also in Ethiopia, we have helped with the facilitation of trade transaction advisory for a flour company. Yeah, so our specialty is basically what we do is we provide consulting services. In this, we do help with conducting feasibility studies, developing of business plan, business valuations, financial modeling. Then we also assist with investment support. This is basically fundraising support and helping enterprises to become more investment ready. And we also provide a pipeline for the PE funds and also investment banks. We also have an HR and executive search department that basically helps with agribusinesses seek out the best talent out there so that they can be able to operationalize their business plan. We also have partnered with CropNuts, who now provide the technical support, be it soil testing, be it agronomic training, or smart IoT sensors. Yeah. So throughout the years, we found out that many enterprises or many companies are not able to get the right support that they require during a critical point in their growth of their business. So we developed a growth hub that is basically provides subsidized services to agribusinesses. So our services are subsidized by Vital Foundation. And how we do this is by a three-phase sort of approach. We start off with the pre-funding support. Then we do the fundraising support and the post-investment support. In the pre-funding support, we assist with the operationalizing of the developing of the business strategies so that businesses can have organic and sustainable growth. By this, we help with developing of business plan and financial model. We also help with development of strategic plan. We help with also conducting market research, and we do mentorship and coaching. We also help with the financial management and also assist with how a business can become more compliant. After a company has received the necessary support and now they are investment ready, we move now to the next phase, which is basically the post-investment support. Basically, at this phase, what we do is we help with the fundraising of the business. So we only do support with the raising of debt and equity. Through this, we help enterprises develop a capital raising fund plan. We then identify different interested investors that may be interested with the business. Then we also assist with the managing the different investors and also negotiating with in the term sheet. After the company has received the funding, we then move to the next stage, which is the post-investment support, which is basically helping with the operationalizing of their strategic business plan. We go back and look at the company in another lens and identify any gap that the company might be facing, and then we help with closing of those gaps, be it management gap, they don't have really the necessary team to implement the plan. So we assist with the recruitment of the specific management that will help with the operation of the business plan. So we'll move then to the next stage, which is an introduction of how to develop a business plan. So a bankable business plan really describes a roadmap that guides the company in the decision making, and also it also gives a framework for tracking the progress of the business. So with this, business plan is normally important because one, it outlines the company goals and strategies that the company has. In this section, mostly you have a plan contains really an overview of the company, market analysis, the growth strategy, and the financial projection. Another important of a business plan is basically it's a tool used by enterprises when they are seeking funding and partnership. So with this, it clearly demonstrates like what the company's financial performance, and it's also its financial viability, and also it's a communication. With this, it really illustrates the organization plan and organization structure and the internal processes and system that a company should have. So in this juncture, I will introduce my colleague, Nzilia Sasi, who will take us through the different components of a business plan and the key things you need to input when developing a bankable business plan. Welcome, Nzilia.
Thank you so much, Benina, for the great introduction. So my name is Nzilia Sasi. I am an agribusiness financial consultant at AgriFrontier. I have a background in economics and finance, and I'm very passionate about helping SMEs to become scalable and sustainable and viable for commercial funding in terms of expanding their activities and operations across Africa. So today we'll be discussing about developing a bankable business plan, and Penina has done a good job in doing the introduction about what a bankable business plan is basically and why it is important. So just to reiterate what Penina has mentioned, so basically a bankable business plan, or in simple terms, a business plan is a very important strategic tool for any entrepreneur because it not only helps you set your goals and objectives in terms of what you want to achieve in the short term and in the long term as well. It also provides you with sort of like a guideline or sort of like a tracking tool to be able to look at the progress and the steps that the organization has made in terms of being able to achieve its objectives. So there are very many reasons as to why a business plan is important to an entrepreneur. There are quite a number, but we have summarized the importances into 3 main points. So first of all, it is important to have a business plan because it is going to outline the goals, the objectives, and the strategies that the business hopes to achieve, either in the near future or in the long term. And I think we'll discuss this in details in the upcoming slides, just to give more context around the same. Another reason as to why a business plan is very important is mainly for fundraising purposes. Yeah. So most of the entrepreneurs that we interact with in the growth hub space, most of them, they want to scale their operations, they want to diversify their products. Yeah, so obviously for them to be able to do that, they need to have funding from potential investors. They could be the private equity firms or the venture capital firms or the donors themselves. Yeah. So for us to be able to support them towards achieving their funding goals, they need to have a business plan, which most of the time communicates the financial health of the organization in detail, particularly how the business is performing and how viable the growth plan that the business has is. So basically, it's a very critical tool when it comes to fundraising, because it is that document that we use to communicate to the investor or potential funders about the viability of the business as is, based off its growth strategy, its objectives, and its operations plan. Another third reason why a business plan is very important is because within the organization, we need to have sort of like a communication channel or something that we refer to as we are working towards achieving our goals. So, and the communication is not just limited to the employees and the employer. It is also communication to other third parties within the organization, let's say maybe the suppliers, other shareholders in the organization, or maybe government entities that you're interacting with in the process of us being able to deliver value to our customers. So a business plan would help in terms of communicating what we do internally in terms of the operations and the processes. And basically, it helps in terms of aligning with what is expected of each of the shareholder. So everyone with a business plan, we're able to know what is expected of everyone and the direction that the business is taking towards achieving its set objectives. So, like I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this webinar is for us to share knowledge in terms of how best to prepare your business plan with the 3 goals in mind. The goal number 1 being communicating your objectives and strategies. Goal number 2 being able to seek fundraising. Goal number 3 being able to communicate amongst your shareholders. So a typical business plan would have an executive summary. It will also have a company description. It will have an industry analysis. It will have a target customer analysis, competition analysis, operations plan, organization structure, summarized financials, fundraising plan, risks and mitigations, as well as the management team. So we're going to discuss each of these components in details as we analyze how best to prepare our business plans. So the first bit or the first component that any business plan should entail or should have is an executive summary. So depending on the type of business that you're running, some business plans might be very detailed, maybe going over 40 pages or so. So in order to make sure that when one opens the business plan, they're able to understand what you're doing, your goals and your plans, the executive summary comes in handy, because it basically gives a high level summary of what the business plan is all about. So it will contain most of the key components that a business plan should entail, and most importantly, it will offer that information in a summarized manner, and it will also include some key statistics. So for a typical business plan, a typical executive summary, some of the main components that you should make sure you include in your executive summary are the company overview, which is basically a description of what the company is. So the problem that you're trying to solve, the solution that you're offering, our mission, our vision, the products and services that you're offering to the market, and milestones, which is basically the traction or the achievements that you've been able to accomplish maybe since inception. And then the second thing that you might want to have in your executive summary is the target market. So these are the people that you're providing your services or your products to. So in your target market analysis, you want to talk about who the target customers are. Like, let's say, for example, if you're growing maize, if you're a large scale maize farmer, your target customer would be millers, basically. Yeah, so that would be your target customer. And also when talking about the target market, there's an element of customer segmentation, which is basically trying to break down this target customers. So how big, in terms of population, how big are they? And in terms of you being able to reach out to them or being able to offer your services to them, who are the ones that you can work with immediately? Who are the ones that you can reach out to maybe in the next 4 or 5 years? And who are the ones that you're targeting to have maybe in a couple of years? So I have put it here as the term, the sum, and the sum. So we'll start with the sum, which is the serviceable, obtainable market. So these are the people that, for example, if you're a maize farmer, these are the people that you're targeting immediately, like they can offtake your products. And like I mentioned earlier, a good example are the millers. So the millers in maybe Kenya, or if you're, let's say, maybe in Eldoret, in Trans Nzoia County, where maize production is large scale. So the millers around that space will be your target customer, your serviceable, obtainable market. And then there's the serviceable, addressable, or available market. So this is the population of the target customer that are not necessarily within your geographical existence. So maybe you would look at it in terms of all the millers in the 47 counties. So you can describe them as your serviceable, available market. And then there's the total addressable market or the total available market. So you could look at them as all the millers, either in East Africa or in all of Africa, as potential target customers that you're looking to acquire or sell to in the near future, depending on your growth strategy. Something else that you might want to include in your executive summary are the financials. So basically high level. So you'll want to include a figure probably in US dollars of the annual turnover. So this is basically the amount of revenue that you're making on average in a year. And then also the net profit margin, which is basically a ratio analysis of how the net profits compare to the revenues that you're generating on an annual basis. And then you might want to touch a little bit about the total assets, maybe the value of the balance sheet. And then you might want to discuss a little bit about the fundraise, which is basically maybe how much you're looking to acquire from the investors so that you're able to grow your business or expand your operations. And then you might want to also talk a little bit about the management. So all these operations and activities within the business. So who is the responsible party? So who is the founder? Basically the founder and the co-founder. And then these other ones may or may not include them in your executive summary. So in your preparation of the executive summary, one key thing to note is that you prepare it as the last bit of the business plan, because as you can see, it is touching on other components of the business plan. So you can only prepare it after you have prepared all these other components of the business plan, so that you're able to capture everything accurately. So in your preparation of the executive summary, be sure to make it precise, be sure to make it clear, and let it communicate. Okay, so after looking at the executive summary, now this is where now the work begins basically. So you would start with the company description or company overview. So under this section, basically you want to tell us who you are as a company, what you do, what are you selling, whom are you selling your products to, and any other relevant information. So as you're preparing your company description, some of the things that you might want to be very keen on including are the company introduction. So like I mentioned earlier, so this is who we are, this is the problem that you're trying to solve, and you're trying to solve this problem for these specific people. And in terms of our unique value proposition, this is what you're offering the market. And then you might want to talk about the products and services that you're offering. So this basically communicates how you're making money or how you're generating profits as a business. And you might want to break that down further by including the different pricing points for the products that you're offering the market, so that it's very, very clear to the people who are going to read through the business plan. And then there's the mission and the vision of the company. So it's important to communicate to your audience what objectives you have as a business, or the purpose of your existence, which can be encapsulated in a mission statement. And then there's basically the vision, which is the long-term aspirations of the business. And most of the time it can be looked at as, maybe most of the time entrepreneurs like to put it in terms of maybe expansion plan or a growth strategy or something similar to that. And also the last thing you'd want to include is the milestones achieved. So it is important to highlight any notable achievements that you have been able to garner as an enterprise. So we'd want to talk about maybe you have been able to serve over 1 million customers since you opened shop. Maybe you have been able to expand to all the 47 counties across the country, and all that. Just something that will highlight or put more emphasis on what you've been able to achieve as an organization. So once you have described what your company is and what it does, the next thing you want to tackle is the industry analysis. So you have told your audience, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I do what I do, and these are the services that I offer. But obviously, in your area of existence, in your market of operations, there are other people who are doing something similar, and you'd want to bring it out there to the, in this context, to the investor, so that they're able to also understand that in this space that you're operating in, it's not just you, it's you and others, and there may be challenges or opportunities within that space that needs to be highlighted. So basically, in doing an industry analysis, you want to provide an understanding of the market that the business is operating in, and you're not just looking at it from the national angle. You're looking at it you start from the global perspective to the global, continental, regional, and then national. And you can always narrow it down further to even the county level in the context of Kenya. So basically, the reason as to why you're doing an industry analysis is, number one, you want to understand the market value. So basically, the market value of that industry or that market that you're operating in. So which is like the ultimate goal of you being in existence or of you doing business. Because at the end of the day, you want to understand this sector that I'm operating in, how much value can I get from it? So basically, when you're trying to understand the market value, you'd want to look at the CAGR, which is basically the compounded annual growth rate. And most of the time, you'll find this value being provided at either a global or a continental level, because basically the rate analyzes the growth potential of the market or of the industry based off the operations of other businesses within that space. And why is it important for us to carry out, to understand the market value of the industry that you're operating in? So basically, in so doing, we're able to identify opportunities for us to grow into and opportunities for us to tap into. Another thing you want to look at, or you want to highlight in your industry analysis, are the key players. So these key players, they will either form part of your competitors or part of people that you might want to partner with or collaborate with as you go about your business. So most of the time, you would want to look at the key players from either a national or a county level perspective, depending on how big your business is. So you'd want to understand. So this in the case of millers, in the case of farmers, in the case of a maize farmer, you'd want to understand within Trans Nzoia County, how many other large-scale farmers am I competing against, and whom do they sell their products to? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And basically, you being able to understand who are the key players in the market, who are your competitors or who are your potential partners, helps you develop or clearly state your competitive advantage. Let's say, for example, you're a large-scale maize farmer, and there are many other large-scale maize farmers within the county, within your county of operations. So maybe if you understand, if you get to understand who their strengths and their weaknesses, you might be able to come up with something different or something unique by maybe saying, maybe in your analysis, you realize that these other large scale maize growers, they grow maize that is genetically modified. So in your operations, you might want to put yourself out there as a maize farmer who grows organic maize that is not only healthy, but also of high quality. So you cannot be able to identify that if you have not done your market research to understand what are these other guys doing, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. Also, in doing the industry analysis, you want to understand what is happening within this market. At this time and date, there's a lot of technology that is flying around. Yeah, there are a lot of political issues that affect markets, particularly the agriculture market. You guys saw the other day how the war in Ukraine and Russia, how it brought about deficits in terms of products like wheat and cooking oil. So as an entrepreneur or as someone who understands the industry that they're operating in, let's say, for example, when there was, let's say, for example, you're dealing in wheat and you realize that because you're up to date with what is happening in the market, you realize that there's a shortage of wheat coming in from Russia because we import a lot from that country. So you would be smart enough to try and look for other ways to fill the gap of the demand for wheat locally. And you can only be able to do that if you understand the market that you're operating in and what is happening. So it's a good thing for you as a business to be able to adapt to the changing needs of the consumer, and also be able to sort of like shield yourself from any unforeseeable circumstances, so that you, even if they come and they hit you hard, you still remain operational, you still meet the demands of your customers as well. And then the last thing is access, which basically talks about the main goal as to why we're doing the industry analysis. We want to identify the opportunities that are available for us. And in so doing, we can be able to strategize internally in terms of how we're going to expand, so that we can take advantage of these opportunities. And at the same time, we're able to sort of like preempt the foreseeable challenges, and then protect ourselves in terms of planning and everything in terms of operations. I see there's a question. So Rashid is asking, how can a fresh entrepreneur identify his or her potential investors? Okay, Rashid, thank you so much for that question. So just to answer it briefly, I would say it would be important for the entrepreneur to first of all be able to, like, the problem or the reason for the entrepreneur or the business existing, it has to be very clear in terms of the problem that you're trying to solve. And also it will be important for the entrepreneur to have sort of like some traction in terms of their areas, the area of operation. And also as you're going about your business, it will also be important for you to understand who are the investors, or who are the potential people that can fund this business, or identifying the specific investors in the sector that you're operating. So this is something that we do at the Growth Hub. We have a database of investors whom we link our entrepreneurs with. So we are more than happy to help you in terms of being able to identify the potential investors that you're looking for in terms of your business. I hope that helps. Okay, so we're going to look at the target customer analysis, which is another very key component of the business plan. So basically, here what we're trying to communicate is who are the people that you're targeting in terms of the products that you're offering the market. So the way to go about this target customer analysis is to first of all build we call it a customer avatar. And building that customer avatar is based off certain characteristics. So you'd want to understand the demographic characteristics of this target customer. So when you talk about demographic characteristics of your customers, so how old are they? What is their gender? How much are they earning on average? In terms of their education level, where are they at? In terms of their job description, what do they do, and all that. And then you might want to also look at their psychographic characteristics, which is basically their habits and their lifestyles. Let's say, for example, if there's someone who loves their habit is maybe eating ugali, yeah, that's something you might want to focus on. Let's say if your business is in milling or is in retailing unga, yeah. So the lifestyles and the habits of the customers are very important, because they're the ones that inform the purchase decision of that customer. You might also want to understand their pain points as a customer. Let's say, for example, your target customer is someone who loves eating ugali, and maybe their pain point is that ugali, the flour that is existing in the market, it's maybe too expensive. So let's say, as someone whose business is in retailing unga, you might want to, and you're that type of a person, you might want to think around the pricing of your product so that you're able to address this is a pain point for them. And then it is also important to understand their buying behavior, which will reflect how often they purchase your products. And also, in line with that, okay, though this is not really quite important, but you might also want to start thinking around how do you acquire this customer and how do you retain them, which basically goes to how you're going to plan around your marketing, your pricing, the pricing model, yeah, and promotions and all that. Also, in doing the customer analysis, you also need to understand in terms of the market size, but in this context, you're looking at it from the population perspective. Yeah. So it goes back to what I was discussing earlier in the executive summary. So there's the SOM, the SUM, and the TAM. Yeah. So SOM being the serviceable obtainable market, which is the population that you're currently serving. The serviceable available market is the population that you're targeting, which is sort of like within your vicinity or within your area of geographical expansion. And then there's the total available market, which now you can talk about a population that is probably widespread geographically, and it might take you a while before you reach to them, but they're a customer, they're a target customer that you're eyeing in the long term. Okay. So briefly, you're going to now look at the other component of the business plan, which is the marketing strategy. So once you have acquired this target customers, or once you have identified them, so how do you plan about promoting or selling your products to them? So basically, you need to come up with a strategy, which you need to put it down, like let's say like goals or objectives, have a tentative budget around it and timelines for execution. So I'm just going to run you through the necessary steps in terms of you creating a marketing strategy for your target customer. So definitely, number one, you have already identified your target customer. You already know your unique value proposition to them. The next thing would be for you to now set the marketing goals and objectives, so which is basically why do you want to promote your products to these customers? And then you need to identify ways in which you're going to reach out to these target customers of yours. Let's say you want to convert, or you want to sell to all kibandas cooking ugali, let's say in Kitale County, yeah. So you need to identify ways that you're going to reach out to this vibandas selling ugali. So one of the ways could be maybe doing posters and planting them around just to create awareness, or you could do social media marketing, just getting the word out there so that people can know these are the services that you offer, and they can come buy from you. And then once you have identified ways in which you're going to reach out to these target customers, then you'd want to develop a marketing budget for each of these ways that you're going to reach out to this target customer. So let's say, for example, you've said you're going to print out 1,000 posters and plant them on every maybe social call. So there is a cost implication to that, which you must address in your marketing strategy. And then you need to develop timelines. So you need to understand this marketing strategy that I'm developing. How long should after how long should I expect results? And what are some of the things that maybe I might want to adjust in terms of me going about my marketing plan? And then once you have set the timelines for execution, obviously now you start doing the marketing officially. If it's if it's putting the posters out there, if it is scheduling posts on social media just to put the word out there, you need to start measuring and evaluating the performance and the progress. And this is very important because at the end of the day, your marketing goals were smart. So there was the issue of you being able to revise them accordingly, depending on how the performance is going on, so that at the end of the day you're able to achieve your goal, and you're able to get to those target customers. And then obviously, as you go about the marketing of your products and services to your customers, there's the issue of collecting feedback, which is very important, so that as you keep on setting more goals, or as you keep on revising your set marketing goals, you're able to incorporate feedback, so that the marketing strategy or the marketing plan becomes a success. And then there's the competition analysis. We have talked about this in a bit under the industry analysis, but basically, in a nutshell, you want to understand what are the areas of opportunities and improvements based off my analysis of what other people are doing in the space that I'm operating in, yeah. So when doing a competition analysis, you might want to have like a couple of parameters. In this case, I've used so I'm in this context, I am looking at 2 companies that are my competitors. So, and I have 4 parameters to look at. So in my case, I'm looking at the products and services. So what am I offering as a company? What are they offering as companies as well? Who are my target customers? What are their target customers? What are my marketing strategies? How are they marketing themselves? In terms of my strengths as a business, what are my strengths? What are their strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are their weaknesses? So this comparison should result to either areas of opportunity for you as a business or areas of improvement. And like you mentioned earlier, yeah, this is very important because at the end of the day, you need to pitch yourself. Okay, yeah, some businesses might be, let's say, for example, some businesses might have been in existence for the longest time. So maybe in terms of market share, they are large on it, customer base, they are large on it, products and services, they have all the diversified, all the varieties in the market. But this analysis just helps you to identify gaps within maybe the area of operation, like you find maybe for them, their weaknesses in terms of customer service, yeah, and that might be your area of opportunity, or what would give you a competitive advantage in terms of being able to compete with these other companies. So it doesn't have to be this way. You can always customize it depending on your type of business and what you want to achieve from this analysis. And then now there's the operations plan. This is very critical. Yeah. So as a business, you need to be able to explain to others, how do you run your operations from end to end? So how are resources and processes managed within your organization? So some of the key things that you might want to address are the product and service delivery processes. So how are you ensuring that all the steps all the steps towards you producing your towards you availing your products and services, how efficient or how effective are they? You might want to address the issue of resource allocation. Yeah. So who is responsible for what, and what is being used to produce what is being used within the organization to offer the services or the products that are in the market. You might also want to address the issue of supply chain management. So from end to end, how is the process from the supplier of either your inputs or your raw materials all the way to the delivery of your final product to the customer. Also, the issue of quality control is very, very important because this is the reason as to why your customers are buying from you and not your competitors. So at all times, you want to ensure that whatever product you're offering them is of high quality, and that can only be guaranteed if there's an internal process to check that. And also there's the issue of capacity planning. So obviously, as a business in operations, there are seasons where you have so many customers and seasons where the customers are very, very, very just a handful. So you might want to plan around those seasons where the customers are coming in flux, so that you're able to cater for their needs and meet their demands as they want. And definitely continuous improvement. So as you're looking at production, resource allocation, supply chain management, quality control, capacity planning, you might identify gaps or areas of weakness that you might want to either make changes around or update them so that your operations are smooth and efficient. Another way to not really another way. But the operations plan can also be looked at in terms of the input segment, the business segment, and then the output segment. The input segment being how the business is dealing with its suppliers. So what are the activities relating to the interaction between the business and the customer? And then there's the internal activities within the business. So how is the business really managing its day-to-day activities? And then there's the output bit, which talks about, basically describes how is the business now interacting with the customers in terms of delivery, customer service, receiving payments, and all that. And that can be better outlaid using a business model canvas. Yes, a business model canvas, a BMC, which basically provides a framework for what a framework for the key components of the business. Yeah, so we now come to the organizational structure. So we have talked about this is our target market. This is how we're going to market to them, and these are the activities that we're going to carry out within the organization to be able to provide the services. So who are the people responsible for all these activities and all these operations? So that's where the organizational structure comes in handy. So basically, it is structured as a visual presentation in form of an organogram or an organizational chart, which basically illustrates the hierarchy of authority. So obviously, there's the decision maker, who often is the CEO, and then there are the facilitators of the decisions made, who most often either it's the finance officer or the operations manager, and then they are the actual doers or the implementers of the decisions made, who are most of the time employees. So we could have maybe a field officer, a staff supervisor, a marketing officer, who will carry out, through the stewardship of the manager, the operations manager, or the financial officer, they are carrying out the decisions made by the executive, the chief executive, or the CEO. So it's important to highlight this and maybe have it displayed in this manner, so that someone is able to know who is in charge and who responds to who, and who is responsible for what specific sector or department within the organization. So as you're preparing the organizational structure, you need also to have the management team at the back of your mind. So this is very important. And I think we mentioned this in summary under the executive summary. But now when you come to this tab for the management tool, you want to get a little bit deeper. So definitely we'll include mostly the main decision makers within the organization. So you'd want to talk about the CEO, you'd want to put it in the format of the role of this person, and then their profile. So under profile, you'll be discussing their expertise, their work experience, and basically their education. Yeah, something else to note is that as you're preparing this slide for management team, it doesn't have to, in the event the business doesn't have maybe like a CEO or a CFO, you might include a board of advisors. And also you might want to include external consultants as key advisors to the business in the event that the team is very, very lean. Then we come to financial analysis. This is a very important slide. I think it's the reason as to why business plans exist, because at the end of the day, you have to communicate how you're performing as a business. So in preparing in doing the financial analysis, analysis is often based of three main statements. Number one being three main financial statements. Number one being the profit and loss statement. Number 2 being the balance sheet, and then number 3 being the cash flow statement. So these 3 statements, they interlink, and when you're doing the projections of the business, which is basically trying to forecast how the business will perform in the near future based off its historics, you must have these three statements to be able to do the projections and also do the break-even analysis and the ratio analysis. So basically, under financial analysis, some of the key things that you might want to focus on would be the projections. So basically just trying to communicate how the business is expected to perform in the near future. It could be 5 to 10 years. And then the break-even analysis, which basically is how much, which is basically how much or how long will it take before the business is able to generate revenues or recoup all its expenses. And then there's the ratio analysis. So under ratio analysis, you might want to get a little bit deeper there because there are different types of ratios. So there's the profitability ratios, which communicates the financial performance of the business. One of them being the net profit margin, the gross profit margin, the EBITDA margin, and all that. Most of these ratios you will be able to calculate them in the profit and loss statement. And then there are liquidity ratios, which basically communicate the ability of the business to meet its short-term goals, short-term financial obligations. So a good example is the current ratio, which is usually current assets divided by current liability. So you need to have a ratio of about 2 to 1. That is the acceptable ratio, which basically shows that the assets within the current assets within the business are able to finance or meet the short-term financial obligations of the business. And then there's the efficiency ratios, which basically communicates the turnover. Like, for example, the total asset turnover just tells you how much of assets within the organization are able to generate, contribute towards revenue generated within the organization. And then there are the solvency ratios, which basically communicate the business's ability to meet its long-term financial obligations. And a good example is the debt service coverage ratio. And then you might also want to perform a sensitivity analysis, which is basically to be able to tell, try to have changes in certain inputs within your financial model and try to see if, let's say, for example, you change the price of fertilizer, which is a raw material for your maize production. How much will it affect something like your revenues or the price that you're going to sell that bag of maize at? Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on under financial analysis, but it is very important to just have maybe like a text box containing all the key statistics, so that someone is able to quickly pick that information and digest it, compared to them having to go through a whole let's say table or an Excel sheet with all the details. And then we come to the fundraising plan. So you have told us everything about your business, who you are, what you do, your market, your marketing plan, the industry that you're operating in, your financials. So yeah, because you said most of the time you're preparing this business plan to be able to communicate to investors, we need to structure it in such a way that we have a fundraising component that basically talks about the match amount that you're seeking, the sources of that funding, and how we plan to use that fund. And most of the time, most businesses seek to fundraise so that they're able to finance their capital expenditure, which is basically long-term assets which are going to be used in revenue generation, and also they fundraise to finance their working capital expenditure but most of the time, the capital expenditure takes up most of the funds being raised. So this is very important to have. It has to be very clear. It has to communicate, and it should be aligned to your either expansion plan or your growth strategy as a business. And then we come to risks and mitigation. So obviously in your day-to-day operations, or even in terms of your planning, you will encounter challenges. You will encounter certain difficulties that you must be able to brace yourself as a business, so that in the event that they happen, you're able to know how to keep on with the operations, or in the event that they are currently happening or they are ongoing, you have ways and means of protecting or mitigating your operations against that. So some of the common risks that entrepreneurs encounter are, number one, market risks. So basically, this is sort of like an external thing that the business might not be able to have the means and the ways of controlling, because you cannot control how the government will wake up tomorrow. You cannot decide, or you cannot determine the changes that the government will make tomorrow with regards to maybe, let's say, input purchase for your produce. You cannot determine, or you cannot preempt the behavior of customers in the near future, because that is simply out of your control. So bearing in mind that these are things that will affect your business, you need to have ways to mitigate yourself, or to prevent that from affecting your business. So one main way to deal with the market risk is obviously staying up to date with what is happening. So let's say, for example, there's a change in consumer behavior. Maybe it's something that you have observed, or it's something that you have seen. Then you might want to have plans around that to address the issue. That issue. Also the aspect of changes in regulations. So for that, the only way you can go about it is being able to just being compliant with what is happening with regards to that specific change. And also there's the risk of finances. So this could either be, okay, most of the time the financing risk is internally. So you find that, yes, maybe your cash flows are not enough, or your expenses are too much, your revenues are too little. Yeah. So you might want to develop a strategy around how best to manage what you have internally. Excuse me. And also try to look for external sources of financing. Let's say if it's debt or equity financing, through the help of business advisory service providers like us, who can help you manage that risk. And then there's the operations risk. So this relates to it could be the supply chain, or the resources within the organization, either human resource or the capital resources. So yeah, you might want to have processes and systems within the organization excuse me, that should address that. And there has to be that regular communication, so that everyone is up to date with what is happening, and they're able to know how to deal with any unforeseen circumstances. And then the last common risk that businesses experience is the legal and regulatory risk. So yeah, anything can change, governments can change. Yeah, so you might want to, governments can change, new laws can be put in place. So it would be best to seek the help of a legal expert to handhold you in terms of being able to understand that these new laws or these new regulations, what do they mean for my business, and also just ensuring that you're compliant at all times. Yeah, so we've come to the end of our slides. So basically, I hope you all now have a good understanding of how to prepare a business plan that is bankable, the different components that you'd want to include in the business plan, and how best to develop those individual components so that they communicate to the consumers of that information. Thank you. I see we have questions. Yeah, so Rashid again is asking, does one need to vary a business plan to suit different investor groups? Okay, to answer that, I would say basically, okay, a business plan is something that you're preparing it with the long-term goal in mind, yeah? So it's not something that you might want to do. You're preparing a business plan on how to, let's say, expand into vanilla production. Tomorrow you have a business plan on how to expand into maize production. So I would say that a business plan should be sort of like specific so that it communicates what you're doing as a business, and it also communicates to the specific investors that you're targeting. Unless you're running like different you have like maybe more than 3 businesses in different value chains, then obviously each of these 3 businesses will have their different business plan. But if it is just one business plan, then I best believe that it should be able to communicate to a target or a specific group of investors that you have identified, because not all investors will put their money in your business. And then there's an anonymous attendee who's saying, what is the difference between investor pitch deck and business plan? What is the link between the 2 documents? Also shed light on an investor teaser and potential differences linked with the other documents. Thank you. So I like to believe that an investor pitch deck is a high-level summary of the business plan, but it is more customized to communicate to the investor. And then so that is the difference between the 2. So a business plan is more general. It can communicate to any shareholder or any stakeholder, but pitch deck is a high-level summary of the business plan, probably in slides form, which targets investors. So also shed light of an investor teaser and potential differences or links between the documents. Okay, a teaser, an investor teaser, it's now a more summarized version of the business plan, more summarized than the pitch deck, more summarized than the business plan. And it's often either a 1 or 2 page, that has very specific components of the business plan. So it will talk about it will give a company description, and it will talk about the market opportunities. And this one is more targeted to the investor, because it is just to entice them or try to see if they are interested in the business. So how the 3 documents link is, so let's say in the case of the Growth Hub, we want to help a business fundraise, So when the business comes on board, we get to look at their documents, we review them, give feedback, and then we start talking to the investors. So when we're talking to the investors, because there's the issue of confidentiality of the information that the entrepreneur has shared with us, when we start talking to the investor, the first document that we share with them is the teaser, the investor teaser, which basically gives a high-level summary of the business and the market opportunities, and it will also touch on the fundraising plan, like the ask amount and what it has, or the opportunity for the investor. And often this teaser, when you're preparing it or when you're sending it out to the potential investors, we don't include the name of the business. So it just goes out there to the investor just to sort of like create interest. Yeah. And then once the investor now shows interest, or they tell us, okay, can I now get to know more about the business? That's when we present them with the pitch deck, which is now a more detailed version of the teaser, but basically borrowing a lot from the business plan, or basically developed from the business plan. So it is more visual in such a way that an investor can be able to consume the information that is contained there pretty much easily. And then now when the investor now wants maybe clarification or more details about a specific aspects of the pitch deck, now that's when we can now look into the business plan, which has now more content or more information about the business. I think that's all. Yeah, I hope I've answered all the questions.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so thank you so much for your time and listening to us on how to develop bankable business plan. So just an update, the next webinar will be on the 25th of April. So basically in the next webinar, we'll be talking about how do you maximize your fundraising potential, and how do you create a fundraising plan. Yeah, as you are targeting different investors, so we'll give you tips and information on how to develop a fundraising plan, and how do you the strategies you employ when targeting the investors in general. Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. You can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We normally upload the video, the recordings on YouTube. You can have a look on all the detailed information that was shared today, and also how you can pause it at any specific one point and revisit the different information. We will also share the PowerPoint presentations with you. And also, this will also ask as a guidance as you are developing the bankable business plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, feel free to apply to become part of the SMEs that you're supporting, and Growth Hub. I think Penina will share the link to application. Yeah. Yeah. And welcome all to our Growth Hub. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, have a lovely afternoon and morning to some. Yeah, we will see you next in our next webinar on the 25th of April. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.